I'm Francois from Production Music Live, today with Producer Notes, and we're taking a look at the style of Cassian, his remix for Shiver by John Summert here in Ableton, using only Ableton stock effects and instruments plus Serum, with different harmonies, different melodies, and also different new recorded vocals in this project. And we are sort of trying to reverse engineer the style, learning the thinking behind the style to then be able to sort of apply it to our own music. So we learn the rules first so we can break them later. And we have a fully arranged track here, quick arrangement overview with an intro. Then bringing in the bass. And then some mids.
I want it all and I'm ready. Somebody help me find love. I could be yours if you let me. Somebody help me find love.
So that's the first drop here, and then we land in the break part at around 2 minutes in.
I've been looking for the answer. There's a fine line between a moment and forever. Somebody help me find love. I want it all and I'm ready. Somebody help me find love. I could be yours if you let me.
So the super trancey break part here with those dreamy vocals, and then some lead LFOs come in.
I could be yours if you let me. Somebody help me find love. Somebody help me find love.
Yeah, that's the main drop here, and then we are building up arpeggios again, and then we are also changing the bass notes here, because so far in this drop everything is sort of held constant, and then towards 3.5 minutes we are entering the chord progression. Let's listen into this art part first.
Somebody help me find love.
And then changes.
I want it all and I'm ready. Somebody help me find love. I could be yours if you let me. Somebody help me find love. I want it all and I'm ready. Somebody help me find love. I could be yours if you let me. Somebody help me find love.
Yeah, then we have this drop with the Plucks here after these dreamy vocals were singing together with the pads, and we are back to holding the bass note constant, and then we go into the outro, and after 5 minutes, you know, you can mix into the next track, and this one is over. And it's a fairly complex track with different parts. You know, you have these build-ups, then you have the dreamy parts, then you have the LFO build-up parts, then you have these gritty stabs in the first drop without vocals, like those here. And then we bring in more dreamy elements here in this part. And keep room for those vocals to have the phrase get all the way through, and also the harmonized element. Here's the phrase.
I want it all and I'm ready.
Harmonized.
I want it all and I'm ready. I want it all and I'm ready.
By the way, all of these sounds are part of the brand new melodic techno sound pack called Mirage with 8 project files, fully arranged tracks like this one. This one is called Find Love, and also a full sample pack with, you know, for example, those are the snares from this track here, and a Serum preset pack with MIDIs for each patch, so you can quickly figure out what you want to play, and also previews for each patch, so you know exactly what you're looking for. So that's the pack here. Now we are going to go through some of these elements one by one here in the back, but before we do that, let's take a quick look at what the groups are doing. We have drums group here, a more simplistic drumming. We have a bunch of snare rolls here in the break, but basically that's our drum group. Then the bass group is heavily layered to sort of give this punchy rolling bass. And here in the drop, I think this one sounds fantastic. We'll take a look at that in a minute. And then below that we have the instruments group. And you know, we don't have too many pads playing here. Sometimes and then we have these other times where we are not playing too many pads, because we're leaving room for the vocals in this part. And just quickly playing into this part here. Yeah, then we have a bunch of effects in the effects group. Downlifter, uplifter, crashes, sweeps, the usual suspects. And then in the vocals group, we have textures in the background. So you could argue that whatever we are not playing with pad sounds here, we are actually playing with these more natural sounding vocal textures. Okay, let's open up send and return channels. We have the whole for low pass stuff, which is 3 seconds. We have high pass, 3.5 seconds. Echo band passed, and that's a 3x3 one. And we have echo 3x3 for, you know, high pass, so higher, moving higher up here. And on the master, we have a bit of saturation, compression, and some limiting, but the master is not, you know, it's just slightly making it louder here. Let's take a look at the single elements, and I'm going to copy some of them here in the back of the track. For example, the kick setup with a top kick and the body. So a bit unusual. In this case, it's done with audio. We used a kick from PML Kicks pack called Confession, and that serves as the body. And then this other kick sound here from a sample called Hewlett. It's the top clicky part. And that's, you know, we've done a bunch of these producer notes now, and there's so many ways of putting together a kick, and that's just one of them. Just have to make sure you always play it early enough so you actually have the clicky part audible. Just putting the track delays visible here to double check. Okay, so the clicky, that's a clicky sample, very short, and then we have this low body of the kick. And a bit emphasized, but keep that with a grain of salt because we are re-engineering, reverse engineering an existing track. So sometimes we'll do some stuff with EQs that you might find a bit funny, but this is because we are referencing to a different track. We would not necessarily do that if we were working from start to finish. Let me quickly copy over, well, maybe I'm deactivating those candidates for a second and just copy over the snare sound. Layered out of a bunch of snare samples here, but then we get this fat sound. So you need a bit of that, need a bit of body, some of the high frequencies, some of the tail, and some stereo tail. Don't worry too much about that. At the end of the day, this is how you create a new sample that is then useful for this style out of existing PML samples. Sometimes, you know, you have something that sounds close to what you want, but then you just need an extra part for your body, and then we throw stuff into a drum rack and see how we can make them fit together so we achieve the sound that we are looking for. Closed hi-hats. So 16th notes here, and you can see velocities automated. So this one is playing 2 and 4, and that one is playing 3. So the offbeat hi-hat position. And then we are playing the open hi-hat in the offbeat position. And fairly short, this one, if I'm turning off the other ones. We have enough stuff that has tails and reverbs. We don't really need this one very long. If I were to make it longer, you can hear the difference. And that's just not the kind of track we're making here today. We need it tight, clean, and tidied up. Hi-hat loop behind that. From the Melodic Techno Volume 2, Start to Finish Academy, taken out of there. But all samples that are used in this project file are also copied into these project file template folders, so no worries, you don't need the Melodic Techno Start to Finish Academy, but I'm still linking it in the description if you're interested, just like I'm linking this pack in there as well. So this is our setup here in the drums. And then at times we have these snares at the end. And that's again a layered bunch of snares, and then you get some body that sounds like the one you're looking for. And yeah, it's being sent through A and through D. So this is where our reverb is then coming from, and that's where our echo is coming from, at least in part. We also have, oh no, that's it. We are actually picking it up over there. So let's actually put that to the end of those 8 bars here. Makes a bit more sense over there. And then let's already move into the sub bass here. It's getting interesting now. The bass group, bass line, sub bass. Let me take the one on E, actually. We're in E minor. Typical trance bass here. So if you ever want to release something on Armada and have it played by Armin van Buuren, you're already, it's a good start for a bass line. So again, this one is reverse engineered. We don't really use the sounds they used in the original track. We are just trying to achieve the same sound by using Ableton and Serum. That's why you sometimes get an EQ curve that looks like this and then gets cleaned up mid-side, and then sometimes you activate an EQ over time in a part where you don't need this frequency, and then you have this shaper plus utility actually working like an LFO tool or like a shaper box, but we're trying to avoid using these third-party plugins here to make it easier for you to use this. And that's why we're setting it up all the way with Ableton. Did we look at Serum? We didn't. So let's quickly take a look at the waveform in Serum as well. We're using BS2 acid 2 times. One is unison 4 voices, one is 1 voice, and that was an octave lower. And envelope 1 controls the filter cutoff. And these presets are also part of the preset part of this full sound pack. Here again, we're in Find Love in this track. Minimum requirements, Ableton 11.1 plus Serum or higher. You can also work with Ableton 12. Okay, next bass layer. Same setup. Low cut now, because we have these frequencies covered. And now we are playing a basic MG wave here in oscillator A. Same levels more or less as oscillator B. That one is playing a subby saw BS2. And again, we are sending envelope 2 to the filter cutoff, and that sort of generates the movement here, plucky movement. And it's a patch by Özgun, who also has a YouTube channel, techno producer. Fantastic guy. And now below that we have the next low layer, or maybe I should pick it up a bit earlier. Let me take it from here. What is this one doing? So this one is playing just this octave, 16th notes here, and it's sort of widened. So we seem to be using more than one voice. ICANN has kick wave form. Again, envelope 2 controlling the cutoff here. And we are cleaning up in the low end because we already have our sub active. Yeah, but in the sum, it's still not enough to match the reference track. And that's why we need the mid layer. And this one is just doing that ever so slightly higher. And it's also quite detuned if you listen to it. Octave higher here than that one. And that one is it's a bit nasty. But it's exactly what we want to add into the mix here. And now we're just missing the top layer. What is that one doing? So that one is pretty clean on top there. Saw waves. Again, plucky. Bit of dimension expansion here. Again, cleaning up for resonances, what was removed here. And we're using the OTT here to take out some of the lows. And emphasize a bit more on the mids and highs. This one is again our missing shaper box replaced with a shaper and a utility in Ableton. And basically we're adding a bit of saturation here on our bassline group. And now in the main drop, we also have these two stab sounds that you might not have noticed. They're in the beginning on the first note. By the way, the notes before, they're almost always the same here, but you can see that one that we just played varies. It's not playing E in the last position in the second turnaround, but then in the third position, and all these other layers here were doing the same. So just if you're wondering, hey, what was the MIDI here? That one was the one that went all the way through. And now we are again here in E, but we have this bit reezy bass at the beginning of our bar. Just, you know, gives that feeling of a special impact, and it has a longer release time behind it. Here, 2 seconds release time, attack time 200 milliseconds, so it takes a bit to come in. And then it stays for a bit longer. 4 voices on oscillator A, 2 on oscillator B. Super nice patch, and we're layering another one on top of that. Well, that's the one with the note changes, so I'm taking this one. It's a bit more gnarly, this one here, and we're removing the low frequencies, which are already more covered from this, but we don't want to cover those because we have our sub bass already separated down there. So yeah, also E and the waveform here for this sound is something a bit more gnarly. In this case, it's called prime. Heavily processed and ping pong delay. Okay, so I can't go into all of these details because then this video would take 3 hours, but you can check the project file yourself if you're interested in all these details. Link is in the description, and it's overall, this is a fantastic pack. There's no doubt about it. It's fantastic. So Plucks sitting on top in the instruments group. And this one is basically harmonizing our upper part here. So our root note was E, and if we quickly enter the scale E minor, we can see this is our fifth. And sort of our harmonics are playing around the fifths. Fifth is starting, and fifth is also the top note. And then we are playing E down here, the second here, and the third. And it's an interplay between the root note, the third, the fifth, and the second. For a bit of tension. Okay, what about the sound of this pluck? We have a simple basic mini wave. That one always sounds pretty good. And then you just send it into a filter. In this case, the one that we have here. So the matrix setup is envelope 2 is being sent into the effects filter frequency, which is this one here. Bit of reverb on the sound as well, that one here. By the way, all the send effects then get moved into this group here, where we are grouping all the sends and we're sidechaining them, and then this sends group gets sent to the master. So we have cleaned up send effects as well. Especially in this style, in melodic techno, with these layerings, that's very clean in the setup. Copying over the other one here. So this one is basically the upper part of what our highest top layer of the bass already was playing. Basically 2 octaves higher. Or 1 octave higher. And that's how you fill up your frequency range without, you know, having to come up with tons of melodies. You just replicate what's being played down there and you play it again an octave higher here, but keep it in the background just for the feels. And now we just need to put in the pads, which are root note and third. So E and G, and again E and G. Bit of movement in this sound here, mellow but unstable, and basic CJW. Bit of reverb on top and chorus, and then this is what our matrix setup looks like. A bit of movement in the sound towards the wavetable position, the panning, the warping, and again the wavetable position, and some of the filter cutoffs. Cleaning up the low end, we don't need that. We have other elements in our high frequencies. And sidechaining it all together. Okay, and I'm going to take a look at these Pluck saws, drop plucks here. So, okay, so there's a filter on this one. Let's quickly pick that up as well with the automation. So again, a fairly simple sound. You just have 16th notes. And you're playing a saw wave. And you're playing one voice. And you're making it plucky with envelope 2 and 110 milliseconds of decay. Some of these simplest sounds are now layered with a square wave. So we have a saw wave and we're layering that with a square wave. Two voices here in unison. And that one is a bit more quiet. That's why overall, if you play them together, it still sounds more like a saw wave than a square wave. And noise on top in a separate instance of Serum. Now this is how we are getting to, you know, having a bunch of tracks, but it's also a clean setup, very deliberate. AC hum from the Organics, AC hum 1. And all of them together. That one sounds fun. Let's quickly look at the MIDI setup for the last. Yeah, so basically it's just 32 notes. So you get and then you get the stab right behind it. So you have this setup here, and then that thing comes in. And these are always these, you know, call and response themes that are going throughout this track in the arrangement, in the setting up of the different layers, and also in the interplay between the voice, the vocals, and the leads. Okay, and now we're just going to throw in some of these Atmos. Here in the back, we have this pad. That's from the vocals packs, and it's just designed to be used in this way. And you can still mess around with these different algorithms here. It's set to complex at the moment, but you could also set it to beat and make it a bit more punchy, depending on how you want to use it. Another texture. Just always make sure you're in key. If you can't really distinguish so well between harmonies, you can always use the tuner effect and see what's up with your harmonics. Just drop it here and then listen in. It's playing E perfect. We are in E minor, so that works. And if we drop it here, okay, seems to have a hard time picking that up. Then your second chance is to just go into the EQ and figure it out through this setup. If I'm holding my mouse over this frequency range here, down there, I can see the note that we are currently in. And you can see it's E3. And we go up here into this part. We see B4, which is our fifth of the E minor. So that works as well. And yeah, all together, let's click them in. Yeah, I mean, fantastic setup, in my opinion. This is such a great foundation for a track. It just sounds super clean and punchy and still fun. Let's quickly take a look at some of these elements here in the arrangement overview. So we have these stabs in the drop part. So that's one of the key elements in this track. So let's quickly take a look at the setup. Low layer. Solo this one. Sounds like a saw wave. And sounds like a mixture. There was a little phasing going on there. Phaser. Wow. And noise. Okay, so this is how they are put together. And again, maybe in the original, Cassian did that differently with one synth or two sounds, but we are trying to reverse engineer it with Serum, so we have to go through a bunch of layers to get to the sound. So here we have saw waves. Distortion setup, chorus. And our MIDI looks like this. It's is fairly straightforward. It's 16 notes distributed, find a pattern that works, and then you can just play it out. It's not really too complicated. Again, saw waves here, an octave higher, an octave lower, unison up, detuned. And then EQ cuts off a lot of the low frequencies, and then we put the dimension or the hyper. Let's turn it off. And that's how you get this sort of, it almost feels like you recorded it in a shower. Compared, there's these, you know, reflections in it. And mid layer. Basic shapes, and this is a mixture between a sine wave and a saw wave, and a saw wave here, 2 voices on that sound, and tube distortion on top. And also being sent through a delay, and that's the entire drop stab group. So we're not putting individual delays on these sounds, but we're sending the entire drop stab group through this reverb and this delay. And side layer. Is that ICANN has kick again. I'm quickly turning those off. Had them on permanent in the settings. Again, short decay time. It's almost like we're doing the exact same envelope setup with almost all of these sounds here. And the noise on top. AC hum. Low frequencies carved out. And some resonant frequencies caught here. And that one is to make it sit in the mix where we need it. Do you hear the difference here? So we have this. That's why this one is really important, because it sounds a bit weak if you don't do this EQ. So what is happening here? So this is emphasized. And this is helping make the entire thing sound metallic. So sounds a bit lo-fi if you keep it out. So this one is just the right amount for this part here. And let's take a look at one of the other parts that we haven't looked at quickly, at those pads here, those dreamy pads and the break. So we are, maybe, are we taking this one? Well, okay, let's look at this pad then. So we're in C major, we're playing C, and we're playing the third, 3 semitones in between, so that's a major chord. And for tension, this is our E. So if I'm quickly going back and we are inserting E minor as our scale, and I bring down this upper note an octave, we can see that's an E sus chord. We are not playing the third as in minor. but we're building a bit of more tension by setting this to the second. And so that's kind of unresolved here, and now we're just voicing that up an octave. So it's C major, it's a C major, just the third, not playing the fifth, and we have an E sus 2 with the second, playing an octave higher. And now what next? And here you could argue we are playing a G5 with a root note D. Let's take a look at that in a second, because the last one is easy. That's just an A and the fifth. So we are basically playing an A minor. So, but we're not playing the third. So it's just a power chord. It's A and the fifth. And A then distributed 3 times. Okay, so going back to the third chord, if we bring G an octave down, we have C, E, G. This is basically what our bass notes are doing. And A at the end. And if this is our bass note, then we have the fifth D playing on top here, and it's not voiced up in this case, it's voiced down. That's why it's a G and a fifth, and playing D as a root note down here, voiced down, and even G voiced up an octave. Bit unusual, but it works better in the overall voicing here, because then you get the feeling that the upper notes are climbing up all the way. And we still have bass notes playing below all of this. So these Reese basses here, they are doing C, E, D, the root note D for that G5, and then A on top. So it always has to be seen in context with everything. Is this in?
I want it all and I'm ready. Somebody help me find love. I could be yours if you let me. Somebody help me find love.
If you want to learn more about harmony and chord progression, check out the link in the description to our music theory for melodic techno and house course. It's linked there as well. Super interesting, with great tutors like Yannick Mounts, great musician. And so we are through the break part here with our analysis of the chord progression. And as time is already pretty late here, we want to sum up the key elements of the sound and then have a full playthrough through the track. And if you want to learn more about this project in detail, you can either pick it up from the link in the description or comment your question below this video. That also works. So summing up, we have very clean drums here with very precise elements, and these are not in the foreground, they're just here to support everything else. We're at 127 BPM, pretty fast. And then very intentional layered sub separation with our sub bass here. And then the layers go up. And this might seem a bit crazy when you look at it, but these are really the foundations of this genre, of this more afterlife type melodic techno genre. So that's the setup, that's how it works. And you just make sure you distribute them properly with EQing. And then every now and then you have these stabs here at the beginning. Smooth for a deep feel together with the drums. Yeah, Yeah, and in our main drop, we have these Gnarly Stabs sitting below that. So if we play that together, and they have to be layered just in the same way, but you need to leave room for those. Then on top of these elements, we have our harmonizing Pluck melody. Bringing in tension with the second here, if I'm turning off this note. This one is kind of building the tension. And then we have these very clean plucks sitting on top here of these elements. Again, purposefully EQ'd, lows taken out, and where's another EQ? No, I think we are already good with the lows taken out the way we have done it. And stuff like that. This is a proper low cut. And here noise as well. And these elements are mostly remaining constant, and in a part where we are sort of playing chord progression, like here, these upper elements are staying constant. So the chord progression, you could argue, is kind of achieved just by keeping these constant and then changing the bass notes. A very typical, way of doing things in trance. And Pad Atmo sitting behind that, just accompanying everything, not really playing a major role. Plus, very important, have the vocal textures in the background. And arrangement-wise, the lead vocal is playing in between those Gnarly Stabs in the main drop. Then we stop them. Then we leave room for the vocals. And then, after we are done with the vocals, we are bringing in those arpeggios and those drop plucks here. So it's a very logical arrangement. Done with that, and then you can play the vocals.
I want it all and I'm ready. Somebody help me find love. I could be yours if you let me.
And then yeah, this style, sometimes it's so clean, it almost feels a bit like math. I hope you enjoyed this little walkthrough here. Couldn't go through all of it because it's a lot of stuff at the end of the day. But feel free to check it out yourself. Links in the description to this Melodic Techno sound pack with 8 of such tracks. Fantastic stuff. Really go to the link in the description. Listen through that stuff with a sample pack, 400 plus samples and 75 plus Serum presets. Check out the Melodic Techno Volume 2 Start to Finish Academy that came out this year, that has courses around setting up this style as well as more sound packs. Vocal pack series, I'm putting a link in the description as well if you need vocals, for example, like those down there. Also for the Premium Drum series and our Music Theory for Melodic Techno and House course. also obviously to the everything bundle. If you're just like, hey, I want it all, I want this great collection of project files and sounds and samples for myself, this is kind of what we are building for ourselves here. So we can always go back and I was like, we need this rolling bass line. Let's just open that project file, copy this group into a new track. So we already have this set up and we can keep going with writing the track. Anyways, talk to you again soon. And now let's have a full playthrough.
In the nighttime, I've been looking for the answer. There's a fine line between a moment and forever. Somebody help me find love. I want it all and I'm ready. Somebody help me find love. I could be yours if you let me. Somebody help me find love. I want it all and I'm ready. Somebody help me find love. I could be yours if you let me. Somebody help me find love. Somebody help me find love.